Hi, it's me again, back in BC. Um, this video I'm going to do is to give a little bit more of understanding of my understanding of what's going on with those induction motor or magnet motor or three-phase DC magnet motor. I think we have quite a bit of misunderstanding. The reason I came across of what I'm saying now is we were testing one of my units. I built the one with the blue electric motor on the frame, and when I was playing with the RC controller, for some reason we were hearing faintly a tune, and it was coming out of the stator, and the flywheel was not turning, nothing was turning, but we could hear a tune coming out from the stator. And then I said, hey, what the heck is going on here? I said, there's nothing in the stator that can actually play a tune. And then I start to realize this. The only way, and I removed the drum out of it and the tune went away. I put the magnet drum over again and the tune came back. Every time you put power in or power out, a tune comes out. Because in the controller, he sent a signal and his little music comes out of the motor. And I thought, well, RC motor must have a nice little diode who does tune, and the signal goes in and play a little tune. So I never paid much attention to it. But when I started paying attention, I started doing some research and opening those motors, there's nothing there to make a tune. It's literally the stator will receive an RF signal, perfectly tuned pitch note on a perfect sequence. So as electricity doesn't do that. It's that simple. I mean, I can't see plugging in something into the wall will have nothing to do with music and start playing a music. It doesn't happen. So that had to be radio frequency. And to make a stator turn, it had to be a very strong radio frequency. It had to be at least an RF. RF, when you look at the signal RF, is exact fingerprint of the signal of AC currents. Now, during a little bit more research and rereading some stuff I read a few years ago, and then I think what's happening with Tesla, it was very simple. He discovered the frequency of the Earth, and we all know that because he talked about that a lot. The Earth was oscillating roughly between 12 and 13 hertz. To be able to find that's meaning he had to be able to tap into the natural RF signal from the Earth. And of course he was, because he was building all kinds of antenna and coils. And that's what's happening. Everybody think about the Tesla towers. It was a transmitting towers. It was the biggest joke I've ever heard. You cannot transmit with 60 tons of copper. The top of his tower had 60 tons of copper. You can only receive. He was not receiving any communication there because it was not even invented yet. So it was receiving natural frequency, natural RF, which this planet controlled gravity, controlled the way you stand, the way you live, the way you eat, the way you light. It controls everything. It's one of the largest family of the radio frequency, and we have other family and other type of radio frequency, which I will go down later. But I just want to show you how the music, and I'm pretty sure you're going to be able to hear it. All I'm going to do is put the power to okay, you heard that? That motor had nothing, absolutely nothing in it. And I challenge any RC player out there to take one of those parts, the top, they come apart. And the only thing goes from those wires is the wire of the stator. It's got nothing else there to make music. And when you remove the drum out of it, you put the power back into it, and there's no sound coming in. So those magnets, they're the one who are actually vibrating at high pitch. Now, this little piece of the controller, they call, this is literally a radio transmitter. The DC power comes into it, which is you know, DC power, straight current, and this turns into a radio transmitter. And that's why the radio transmitter, you can send two frequencies slightly apart to be able to turn those motors, you know, very fast. And then this is the speed control, and that control your output of voltage. So that's mean when you start the motor, well, I will start again just to show you. And there is already. And that's sample. All I'm doing right now, I'm varying the volt going in and the timing, because higher volt, faster timing. And that's how those motor works, on radio frequency, not amp. With the controller can push out an amp, but more likely if they're wind up properly, they only runs on volt with milliamp. They're the most efficient and torquey motor in this planet, and I don't know why those motors not being used everywhere. But this is how that works. This motor is the same way. It runs on radio frequency. Those big outrunners. We have different type of motors, and a regular motor, same thing, 120 volt motors, which is an induction motor, runs on radio frequency, because it's nothing else who have movement. If you have a current, we have current with no movement, then you don't have a current, do you? Because current means movement. So we have to understand how the element work, how the element have to be named, when they were named, when they were discovered, which is very important, because today they mean something else, and that's why you can't, you know, you say the phrase, but the action and the phrase do not match, because the phrase should give you what the action is going to be, and it doesn't do that anymore. And that's the reason the big Tesla mystery was never found, because people were still looking for AC electricity, and it's not electricity, it's AC, it's an RF wave, which they call AC. Now, it's an artificial wave because Tesla had to use mechanical device to achieve that. But by doing that, he was able to sell the patent of the device to Westinghouse, and how this recipe to do all that. And that's why we're buying, when we're paying for AC currents, which is actually RF currents, but is man-made through power dam and stuff like this. So now we have a better understanding how electricity, we can call it, and which is hard for me to call it that, how it's manufactured, how it was invented, how it was discovered. Okay, well, sorry for that. We had a little bit of phone call here, it came up and I had to grab it. So, but the magical of camera, see, the table change. I have enough explanation. You heard the music coming up from the motor. Now this is the one I'm working on. I'm waiting for the sensor, and here's the sensor, the original sensor, and it's only have two. And this control box with this Anaheim required 3 stator at 3 wire each, which those only have 2 wire each, so they're not compatible with those. So when I say sensor, there's this tiny little pin here, will go through the legs here in 3 different places, and it tells where the magnets are at the right position. And that's how you can start turning left, right, and speed it up, and putting the brakes on and stuff like this, all by those sensors. So now this is the one I'm working on, and as you guys can see, you recognize this flywheel. This is the one who is the generator, the bipolar generator. Now, knowing what I know today, bipolar generator is another bogus word. This is actually not a generator. It is a generator, but not making AC electricity. This make RF frequency. It's a frequency generator. This is the generator. You never burn fuse. Always run. You overload it, and the maximum overloading, what's happening? The motor, it can't produce anymore, so your voltage start to drop as you're putting the load on. But it never burn fuses, those generators. It's very simple, because they don't make electricity. Electricity would have burned a fuse right away. They're running on RF frequency. That's the only explanation. Now, this, still going to try that on here to see how much, because I'm going to produce 1500 watts at 120 volt at 60 hertz, and I should be able to loop, because this is run on 120 volts, and it produces 160 volt DC 3-phase. When I have all the sensor, I should be connecting that, and that should be running by itself. You start it off the wall with a transfer switch on the system, and it goes automatically to its own. It takes about 300 watts to run that. I'm producing 1500 watts. I should be able to still extract 1000 watts, and everything is still running by itself. This is like a small generator for an RV or whatever, and that's just a prototype. You have to understand things will change dramatically when we're talking to company and Asia right now. They can build those motors for us in any shape, any size we want, from 15,000 horse to to micro horse. So I mean, like, now we're actually talking to people who actually understand. They've been building those motors for a long times, but no one ever sees them unless you start taking things apart. So they'll hide it. So after I'm finished with the radio frequency, I got the loop, so I can show people. It's a very simple, easy way. It's just a simple transfer switch. You don't need you need a very sophisticated controller, but after that is easy. When I'm done with this here, I'm going to try the green drum with the 6-pole jump stators. It's a very easy stator to turn, and it produces very high voltage. I test the stator up, and Josh here is my witness. We can burn a light bulb just by turning that by hand with very little resistance. It's easy, and it produces a lot of volts, and the bulb was burning at full blast. So that's another thing I want to find out, because I find out also you can actually create a high voltage generator. And the nice thing about high voltage, when you jump the volt, is the resistance goes away. Especially when you create an RF current at high potential, that's mean high voltage. The resistance of making it goes away. It's almost like it takes the resistance and transport it and turn it into currents. And I want to see if I can bring 15,000 volts at 3 poles out of those stators, and then dump that directly into a pole transformer, like a 15 k's or 20 k's. And I guarantee, I'm absolutely sure a generator that size can power 25 k's transformer to supply for a full house or farm whatsoever, just with that in a transformer. We don't have to jump to transformer anymore. I show it was possible to do over unity. I prove it. And I show with my last video, then some transformer does the multiplication because they're not built properly inside. They're using a really cheap transformer design inside, which is like a what do you call that? A large neon transformer. It just like, it's kind of, when you look at the can, what you put that in the can for, right? It's a square little box. You could have installed that in the pole and put a bag over. But there again, it's just a big mystery. Everybody's afraid of AC current because it does kill, because AC currents, the man-made AC currents, it's got a third brush in it, which is earth ground or return line. Now we have across Canada. So another test I did in Toronto, they have no ground, just like BC. It's a return line, and they all have the same problem when they change the meter. The power meter. Everybody, suddenly their hydro went from 40% more, some up to 100% more, double, right? So I mean, a lot of people, they can't understand, and I start to explain a little bit, what's going on, and more people actually, get it now, and it could be stopped, because literally on the top of your bill in BC anyway, it says service for single phase. Right? This contract is for the service of single phase. Well, single phase is you have to pay for one wire, not two. Right? The old system, the old meter was reading on the highest draw wire, line 1 or line 2. They were flipping back and forth, but it was only calculated on the highest draw. Now the smart meter, charge you for both. They calculate the maximum on both, and then that's what they add together, and that's what you get charged for, which is illegal. People should just take that to court because they can't win with that. It's a fraud, right? But anyway, people want to pay the price. You keep your mouth shut and you pay the price. It's the bottom line.
You've run into people, Gerard, that understand exactly what you're doing. As soon as you started saying RF, people started coming out of the woods and saying, yes, that's exactly right.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, as soon as I mentioned the RF signal, I mean, it's very simple. Look at RF signal and look at the AC signal, the perfect fingerprint. You cannot having two names for one signal, right? I mean, it's that simple. I mean, I don't care how good you are, you can only suck or blow. You cannot do both at the same time. So, which one is it? AC current or RF current? I think RF was here before we existed. So I would go with RF currents. But the AC currents, since it's man-made, that's probably why they can call like this. Because it's patentable, because it's manufactured with equipment. It's mechanical, induced. So, but I like to stick just with a straight RF. Is less, put it this way, it's a natural frequency. If we wouldn't have RF frequency, we will not exist. Our whole existence is built on RF frequency. It's millions of frequency in RF. It's a very large family. And some I don't even know. I mean, I'm only scratching the surface. Actually, I'm scratching right at the Earth's surface, because the frequency we had was literally not invent but discover at the Earth's surface frequency. So that's how, I'm starting to understand a whole lot more, even when I'm reading, Tesla's literature, and some of the Tesla literature is terrible because it's been translated so many ways, it doesn't make any sense. But now, he always says, you have to understand frequency. Now, it was right in our face all along. Yes, we have to understand frequency and how frequency react with element. Because a certain frequency will react better with copper, iron, aluminum, stainless steel. Those are elements. And also, if you want to really understand, you got to understand your element. At least a basic of the element, so you can refer yourself into the element and see how can he does that. How can he react? Right? It's like a magnet. A magnet is just a flow of they call it electron, but I don't call it electron. I call it megatron and positron. Because the two different polarity, and they flow, constantly the same in the same circle, right? So that would make more sense than electron. Electron is too big. The molecule is too big. Electron love iron. I mean, the iron is one of the biggest part, because when it's mixed with iron, then they split, then megatron and neutron come in line. So, but anyway.
A number of videos though, Gerard, you've been talking about this self-looping, self-running motor fed into the generator, which then again powers.
Correct.
Your understanding now with the radio frequency is it changed the way you've designed this?
Yeah, because now you can actually create an antenna to receive the same system, the mechanical. If you don't have room for mechanical or stuff, you can actually have an antenna. Now it's very simple. The volume of volt, right? Volume of volt. The volt equal mass and weight. Mass and weight, that means I have a tiny little antenna. It's got about maybe half a pound of copper in the air, 10 feet off the air. It gives me 1.3 volts constantly AC. So, and then if my truck, it weighs 5,200 pounds. When I go and play on the river and I need the power line, my truck is charged itself of 740 volts AC. Believe me, it's a shocker when you grab the handle. It discharged instantly. It became like a massive caps. So, knowing that, I did a test with a smaller vehicle, which was about almost half the weight of my vehicle, and the volt dropped down to 300 volts. So that's when I understand the mass of iron makes a big difference. That's my Suburban. It's a 1978. I have no plastic. it's all metal. And the other pickup truck is half plastic, you know, literally half of my weight. So mass instantly came to mind. It makes a difference. And then when mass here, you know, came to mind, I came to mind with mass, and I said that would make sense why Tesla has 60 tons of copper on the top of that big tower. It was a receiving tower, not a transmitting, because you can't transmit with mass. It takes too much energy, right? So I mean, like, no, it makes all sense now. I mean, by modulate what comes out from the tower at high voltage, high frequency, you put it through the frequency through a rectifier, high voltage rectifier, and then you put it through another either mechanical system or an electronic system to put either a square wave or an impulse into it, and you pound that into a transformer, and you have all the power you want continuously. You know, and it's not an if. Just go get yourself a couple of pounds of copper wire and stick it up in the air in 10 feet and bring a little wire from it in the ground and put a voltmeter in between. I mean, I'm not making it, you know, as simple as that. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to do that.
So a lot of people have seen things like that before, and there are other videos out there, but what are you saying you can do? Are you still saying you can multiply that power?
Well, you can multiply by the weight.
By the weight, yeah.
The weight of your antenna is your equation for your voltage.
So paint a picture, like let's say someone had a vehicle that they wanted and they were going to use this kind of energy to power it. Can you paint a picture of what that might look like?
Well, on the vehicle, I would not, you know, I wouldn't, on a boat, I would expect an antenna. You know, on a train, I would expect an antenna, right? Maybe in a plane, I would expect an antenna. But in a vehicle, like, you know, the everyday vehicle, pickup trucks and boat and stuff like that, like you know, the other small stuff, including your 18-wheeler, I would go mechanical, because who want to drag, you know, a 500-600 pound antenna, you know, at 80 miles an hour, right? So I mean, you know, common sense have to kind of kick in a little bit here and straighten things up, right? So, but that's what I'm doing. The mechanical is also the source of power, is also the source of motor those vehicles going to run on. So by developing this here and finalizing everything up, yes, it's a self-looper, it's very simple to do, but now we have a base, you know, to really fetch how much torque we're putting with those motor, how big of motor we need. Now, do we need a 6-inch dictator or we need a 3-inch dictator for four-wheel drive? We don't know that. Because guess what? No one's making those motors for that purpose, right? So I don't have a part books. I don't have a scale to calculate. I don't have absolutely diddly squat, because that's what I start with.
So
diddly squat.
A lot of people, that's what they do, is they're emailing. They're saying, "What can you send me a list of parts that I need for this?" And as much as you're not holding back any information, that's why you're making these videos and you're trying to be very open and sharing everything with people, because you're open sourcing it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
you're the least from the greediest person I've ever met.
I'm not holding the secret. I just told you guys what is Tesla's secret, which has been, they've been searching for that for at least 120 years. What this Tesla was doing, where he was getting his power, because he understand, I don't know if he understand or trip over, whatever, that's, you know, I was not there, okay, that's 150 years ago almost, I was not there, but he understand the frequency of this planet was humongous, and the frequency as you go away from the planet, the oscillation get faster and faster and faster and faster and faster and faster, all the way up to infinity almost. So that's how much frequency in RF we have. And then we have another man-made frequency, which, you know, we call AC currents. And then we have another one man-made frequency, which is called square wave frequency. And then we have another natural energy, which we call impulse. Impulse, everybody says, no, that's not a natural frequency. Well, you tell me, you know, gamma ray, X-ray, the sunlight, any frequencies coming from space, what shape it is an impulse, not a wave. You know, it's broken. It have no connection between the breaking point. So I mean, like, you know, it's all how we look at things. So, you know, we have a very efficient way now to be able to produce a massive amount of energy. Motor move vehicle, they don't have to charge batteries, they can produce their own powers, you know, and they're the cheapest motor on earth. I don't know about other planet because I don't travel much, but on earth, they're the cheapest motor to produce. They cost a fraction of the cost than making this motor here. It used to be a 3-phase motor. It was, I think, a 2.5 horse 3-phase motor before someone burned it. So, I mean, this motor sells for roughly around about $500 brand new. This motor brand new sells for probably about maybe $55 brand new. And this motor have 100 times the torque of this motor. So, I mean, like, who are we kidding here? Like, really?
So now you're obviously you've had it running and different things like that, but it's not at the point where you want it. But maybe you can explain to people why it's not there quite yet, because you've had some delays.
It's very simple. It's like pushing this big boulder up a hill every time we talk to company, because we have company hand to hand, excellent controller. I mean, very good controller, but they don't supply you the sensor. So they give you the name and a number of the sensor. You know, and so we can't find the sensor anywhere. We can only find the same brand sensor, but a little bit higher volt, not the voltage they require. And this, they told us on the telephone and on paper. The controller will not run with any other sensor but that number. So, okay, we're going to go and buy it. We can't find it. No one carry it. Oh, because it's not it's a commercial item, not a private, so you have to be a corporation to purchase those damn sensors. I had to go through a friend of mine's corporation so we can order some sensors so I can actually run this thing with this controller.
So all this education, all this research basically you've had, it's brought you to a point where you figured out exactly how this is all working and exactly how the research is going to go forward. And when you found that, we find it very interesting that as soon as you go to talk to people, that's the hardest thing to get, is the thing that may exactly be the secret, right?
Oh yeah, because like they seem to be like they sure like your money, because they never bitch about it when you give you a bill of $1,000 and you pay it right away, right? So I mean, like, you know, but soon you ask them, oh yeah, you can do that, but they never send you how to connect the sensor and what position and what's the air gap between the magnet. No information whatsoever, right? So I mean, like, you know, it's too bad, because, you know, it shows, you know, how their intelligence is so in a lower level. You know, they're so afraid of their own shadow. They're afraid someone's going to steal, but it's patent. Like, you know, I'm buying their product.
Well, tell about the. Remember, you were doing the test in the lab, right? Because everybody knows about the last video in the lab. You were doing a test, and you had an engineer come in and you were showing him, because you were hooking up multiple things based on this same technology. And what was his reaction? Well,
yeah, I mean, the guy is a very, very smart person. He's a teacher, he's a scientist, and he teaches physics and mathematics. And I was using a little bipolar generator like this, but a little 1200 watt with a 3-horse motor, and I was pushing into 225 kV transformer like I did on the first video, and I went up and I plugged a cooking stove, a full-size cook stove, 240, right? So I had I did my junction, so I had 240, so I plugged in the stove to it, and I was capable of running the full top of the stove, 4-element at full temperature, with 1200 watts at 120 volts. And I said, see, that's what multiplication is. And he looked at me and said, yeah, but he said, this is a different type of current. He said, this doesn't really work. Like, and he walked away. Like, the guy could not understand, so his best thing is to walk away. So that's the mentality of our science today, right? If you don't understand something, oh my God, just walk away. The problem is fixed. I don't understand, right?
So it was right in front of his face.
It's right in the front of his face, and he could not comprehend. If I was pushing back into a transformer, that transformer was giving me right back to 14,400 volt, and then with potential, and shooting that in the other transformer and making the other transformer work properly. for whatever I was pushing potential in. I reached my limit, 7,000 watts. I can only put out 7,000 watts out of 1,200 watts generator. Which, right there again, no, if you want to prove me wrong, you better bring some money this time, because you're going to have to put some money on the table and I will do the demonstration, and you're going to lose your cash, because I'm going to laugh with that all the way to the bank. You know, it's that simple. Some transformer from the state, and I explained that in my prior video, some transformer in the state do not do multiplication because they're not built for it. They change the transformer. So the transformer in Canada, most of them will do the multiplication. The old one, obviously they will. The new one, some of the new one, I don't know till I open the top and look what is inside, because I can't see through steel. I'm not Superman, right? We'll have to open those cans. As you see, I had about $30-some thousand with a transformer behind me, and I got a couple more in the shop because they're too big to move around. And you know, if you don't open it, they can tell you all they want. The sales people will tell you everything you want to hear, but it's not just going to be in a can, I tell you that, and they don't work, right? So, but multiplication exists. I did it many times, and I will do it again. Just for the hell of it, because it's kind of fun. But at that point in time now, the explanation is how far I went. Well, physically, not a whole lot, because we're wasting our time waiting and waiting for parts and waiting for this and waiting for that. You know, matter of fact, I got so tired waiting for machining. Before I came back from Toronto, I went up and bought a milling machine, lathe, bandsaw, drill press, welder. And then when I come back, I'm going to install it all and go get the material to work with, and I'm going to do my own machining, because I'm waiting 2-3 weeks now for something I can do personally in an hour.
Yeah, and I think that's something people don't entirely understand. Is how much you've been delayed by other people. Sometimes you've been sitting there.
80% of my time is delay and waiting. And then I cannot just sit here and wait, so I do research. I test that, smaller test this, and I keep getting forward, or fly for 2 weeks in Toronto, work in a lab, get that ready, do some tests over there when I'm waiting here for my parts, come back here 2 weeks later, find out only have half of my parts because the other half was not made, right? So I mean, it's constantly, I mean, it's like I say, it's like I'm pushing this 10-ton boulder by myself up a slight hill, but enough, it won't roll by itself. Believe me, you gotta push the weight up. So I mean, like, but you know, that's just a simple understanding of RF at that point in time. If people would do me a favor and really think about what RF can do, it can change everything in this planet. It can almost put the planet, and that's not just mechanical wise. RF have a lot of potential of many ways, and I will be talking to that later on. I'm just going to take some time, clean up this table, this mess here, and we'll be coming back and talking about something a little bit different. All right, magical camera again. We're back, clean up a little bit here. But when I want to touch a little bit is I want to really put on the understanding of the element for people. They have to learn a little bit how the element works. It's just like you're driving a car. You have to learn how to drive a car. You have to learn the signal. You have to learn, see what's going on in front of you. The element is no different. I mean, but no one really teach us that, in school. They seem to be like a taboo for people to know the element today. Most they consider you as a terrorist, because you know more than they do. So, but it helped a lot, I struggled for almost 2 years now. Try to put my finger on why I can push 60,000 volts through me, light up, burn fluorescent through my hand, and not be dead. And that was a question I've been asking. I've been hit many times with lots of voltage, and voltage would amp from 240 all the way up to 360 AC, and believe me, they hurt and they burn. So I mean, I was wondering why only get a zap, which doesn't leave any mark, but shake you like crazy, and no side effect after a few minutes. And it didn't make sense. It was electricity, because electricity would burn me. Electricity would burn flesh, but radio wave on a lower level doesn't. And radio wave, when you carry your voltage on a low level, is not dangerous to you. It will not burn you or hurt you unless you became the resistance between the two wires. So that's why it's a very safe current to have around you, because you know the little kid would have to have two knives to fit into the outlet of your wall to get a shock. And all we would get is a hell of a shock. He wouldn't be killed, his hand wouldn't be burned, and you wouldn't have to go into a funeral 3 weeks later, right? That's why, you know, I don't understand why did they put that third brush into his system. Tesla did that probably at the demand of Westinghouse, you know, and that makes the whole thing be really dangerous to play with, you know, the AC currents. And but there again, there's a lot of people, they asking me, like, you know, they ask me how soon we're going to get this thing and how soon. I wish it was yesterday. You know, if I wouldn't have to wait 3 weeks for every little thing I order, then we would probably be not talking about it. People would be powering their house already. I'm at mercy of company who actually do not want to work for the little guy, even how much money they charge them 3 times. Then the people have an account there, they're on credit. You go there with cash, you know, and you wait. You get the lower end of the service, and they charge you 3 times as much. You know, that's when, this is one sign when you're living in a world of stupid. When credit trumps cash, when credit is more, it's got more good behind than cash. No, we're really living in a world of stupid, you know, and I don't think people, you know, would disagree with me, you know, at that point in time. So, that's the reason we don't have a unit today, because I didn't have the true understanding, and everything I'm discovering, believe me, there's no book out there to find it. I got to struggle and find it myself, you know, by doing testing this, testing that, you know.
You're sharing it openly too.
And sharing everything I'm testing. I said, hey, if you do that, you're going to get that response.
Have you been happy with some of the replications that have happened
Oh,
out there?
absolutely.
And a lot of people have made
There's
a lot of progress.
lot of people out there. They're actually doing some excellent work, and please do not stop. It's not the game is not finished yet. It just started, literally. No, we can really have some fun if people just treat this frequency as an RF frequency and run with it. RF frequency is the most powerful. When people said, oh, around you is heater, around you is dark matters, around you is this, around you is very simple, is RF frequency. You're swimming in a sea of RF frequency. And this frequency controls this planet, control what lives, what dies, what stands, you know, our life, the way we look, everything. You know, it controls everything. You remove that frequency and nothing exists, because everything have to have a frequency. I mean, each cell of your body, you know, vibrating a frequency. So, and there's another thing about frequency. If you remember that little pump I had in my table here,
Washing machine pump?
my washing machine pump, which I'm going to reach and get one just like it. Those are not bipolar. They're not bipolar, period. They're an RF frequency generator. You're spinning a north-south magnet between 2 iron bar with the coil over. This is a radio frequency. You can literally transmit this frequency and shooting anywhere you want on an antenna. But what I find out is when you throw this radio frequency into a transformer, a couple of up transformer, and you put a spark gap, you reach the oscillation of 1.8, sometimes all the way up to 7 kilohertz, very high with a spark gap. And then when you're into that range, well, guess what happened? Heater start to appear, and that's what the magic gets. The frequency excite the molecule of the atom, whatever you want to call it at that point in time, enough. Then we have a reaction. It's a trigger. So the frequency level, it's a trigger to be able to produce heater. heater have so much power because when it comes to this parallel, is on its expansion because it comes from a vacuum which is extremely cold. So when the energy comes into a warmer world, it'll expand before it dies. So that's why it's very powerful. It's not like an energy was created with heat and then die as we try to use it and die before we use it. That's an artificial energy. It dies as we have to keep constantly put energy into it to be able to keep it feeding. But heater, it doesn't. You just create, the frequency, it opens the door and it comes in. And then it does all kinds of stuff. This little machine here in the lab, I guarantee you the next 10 years, you still won't not find the end of the possibility of RF frequency. This thing actually, on my own experience and other people's experience, and I will not mention any name, but I'm pretty sure someone will watch this video, she will smile. She come here and she did some tests with this frequency, and she had a really bad back. And by the time she left, after 3-4 days, she literally was walking straight. And I know she's not a person to really, make fun of stuff like this. And we talk together, and she still feel, the treatment brought her back into walking straight. So I hope she still walks straight, and I'm going to be seeing her shortly, probably by the end of this month in Australia. But this little pump here, the potential of this is almost limitless. From energy to understanding energy, and also how your body works and how it functions and what it needs to fix itself. It's just amazing. Everything's in a frequency. When I said you remove RF frequency on the equation of the world, and you don't have a world. So this is another good thing, to do tests with, is that tiny little pump. And beside that, we're going to be doing, I want to show you a tiny little test to prove against radio frequency directly from AC plug. Now that's a bad word, AC plug. Yeah. We're going to do a small test. So we're going to shut it down, and then we're going to restart it when I'm set up for the test, so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, I'm going to show you a little demonstration of RF, how it works. As you see, my meter is set for 100 volts, and that's what RF is. It picks up 1 volt, 100 volt, and RF in the line right now just by standing beside. Now, what I'm going to do is on those tiny little motor here, the little fan motor, 110. I'm going to start this one directly from my plug in my fridge, but this one is not touching. I can see I put a piece of cardboard, right, and I'm putting against a piece of cardboard. I'm going to show you a RF frequency transfer into this motor, but this motor won't turn. This motor will be just like a transformer. It will give me volts because it will be transferred with RF frequency. Now let's go and plug that up. Automatically I got 10 volts. And nothing is connected anywhere else.
This one's spinning.
This one is spinning. The other one is not. And now we're getting 10 volts. 9.9 to 10 volts. AC.
And where we should
now,
show them.
No, there's no connection here.
Go from over here.
There's no connection anywhere. Go behind. Go behind. Right? It's not connected. One is plugged to the stove to 120, and the other one is not turning. It's not playing. I just put my meter on it. Now watch that. Not just the volt is transfer. Right? If it was just the volt, I can say maybe static current. Watch that. The hertz is also transfer. 60 hertz.
Wow.
So I mean, what I can tell you, if that's not a radio transfer, I don't know what a radio transfer is, If I can transfer the hertz through this with no connection, it have to be radio frequency transfer.
Simple.
Yeah, pretty simple. No, I mean, you can do test over and over and over, but I mean, when you see something like this, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. It's no longer AC currents. That's radio frequency. you know. So that's just another little test here. I want to show you, just share with you and show you my messy sink and stove here.
This is just a part of how you've come to some of these.
Yeah, it's
now,
like, you know,
understanding.
by doing tests with those motors and stuff like this, and then suddenly I'm picking up, you know, voltage for the next motor, and it was not even, it was like, you know, a little bit further away, I was getting very low voltage, so I bring it closer, the volts start to go up. And I said, holy mackerel, even if I spin with elastic here, put elastic and spin that motor, I can't produce as much volt as what I'm doing without turning it. So, I mean, we're playing here with radio frequency all day long. We've been into this world of radio frequency, I would say, for all our life, literally, because I was born in an electricity world, and most of you guys was born in an electrical world. So, I mean, everything's, you know, it's electricity. If it's not connected with a wire, it doesn't work. Like I'm transferring 10 volts from a motor just standing beside.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's no connection here.
It's a good demonstration of how you've come to this understanding.
Oh, exactly. What those are the little sign here and there when you say, okay, oh, let me check that a little bit further apart, right? But that's what's happening here. I mean, like, you know, I can go all day long with different little tests and show you that's not it. I mean, matter of fact, you know, my little pump, if you just take the 400, the four times step transformer, small step transformer, and you hook up 100 watt bulbs, and you feed that bulb 600 volt, it ain't gonna burn. But at 15 feet away, we can feel the RF in her chest. It's so powerful. And I have witnessed, you know, to witness that. Matter of fact, you know, a good friend of mine, Scott, you know, he said the same thing. He said, oh my God, soon I turned it on. He said, I felt RMF right away. He said, that thing is just pushing out. He said, I can't believe it. And then when I was heating up the magnet with 400 volts. Again, how can you heat up a magnet? Well, radio frequency would be a hell of a start to look at.
Yeah, it makes a lot more sense.
You know, it makes sense instead of electricity. What the electricity would do to a magnet anyway? But frequency, radio wave, would excite you know, the molecule inside that magnet and realign it and make it to hit each other and heat up by itself.
What about the interesting temperatures that you've been
The temperature change is also, you know, part of the frequency. Faster the molecules vibrating, right, more it will heat up. Those molecules, when they start vibrating, they hit each other up. So, I mean, soon you get a friction, you get heat, you create heat immediately. I mean, look, demonstration of a induction stove, right? Everybody, you know, actually I got one in the lab. I pick up a whole top of the induction stove.
Oh yeah?
Induction stove is so simple. It's a Tesla transmitting tower, but for energy.
Mm-hmm.
The coil underneath the pad, it's just a big copper wire wrap around and come back in the center of the loop. And what it does, when you put a pot, they have to be iron in it. If it doesn't have any iron in it, it won't not work. So that's why when you buy pot for induction, you know, they recommend pot. Iron pot will do. Any iron part, pure iron pan will do perfectly. When you put that over the antenna, well, the antenna is sending a very high potential and frequency right into the iron molecule, and the iron molecules start to vibrate. And as they vibrate, they get hot really fast. Matter of fact, you can boil water in an iron pan and an induction stove in 3.7 seconds. That's as fast. It's about as fast as a car can get for 60 miles, right?
So you can see, no pun intended, you can see the potential for so many things based on this understanding.
Exactly, but we've been using it, and it's been all
been
those,
right in front of your face.
The corporation, they're hiding it. I have to take stuff apart to get parts and then start spinning it to see what kind of results I got of that. Why those corporations doesn't come out and say, hey, we have a new way to do this, it's much cheaper. No, it's always, hey, we have a new way, oh, by the way, it's 5 times the price. But the cost of manufacturing dropped down by almost 80%. It's the greed of the corporation who do not want this technology to go out. And anybody who think different at that point in time, or at least do not have the mentality to stop and then just grasp what you have in your hand and start seeing how it really works. Because most people today, believe me or not, they drive $100,000 car. but they don't know a clue what's underneath the hood, right? And we've been like this all our life. I mean, I'm no different. I use some stuff sometimes. I don't know how it works inside. I just use it because it gave me something, right? I mean, like, you know, but when something doesn't make sense to me, when logic is not applied, for therefore is a lie. Because if you don't use logic, that means you want to, you want to hide something. So you're going to lie to hide something. And the reason we've been living into a lie, and every year we have a new lie on the top, because they can only cover a lie with a bigger lie. But now the lie it came to a point, I used to be, it was the epitome of lie. It was the biggest lie you can ever. Now they have the apocalypse of lie, which they cannot, most people now they're discovering, they've been lying all their life. That's part of the video, the first one we're going to hide up all together is something I just want to show you. As you can see, I had a piece of cardboard going between, and we were getting 10 volt from this cord, transfer from that motor running. This motor is actually running. You cannot see it, but it's running. So I can't hold the shaft. There you go. It's running. But I want to show you something else, and to prove you what RF comes out in the motor. Now, we all know in the industry, sometimes we're having a problem. We have static in the TV or radio, have crackling in it to it. You're getting shocked when you're touching the structure of a building. It's because a motor is failing, an electrical motor is failing. And what's happening when it's failing, the insulation of the wire inside are getting hard and they're breaking. And suddenly the field is jumping, the RF field is jumping, and then suddenly it's jumping all over the place. And then soon the field hit a mass of steel, it will convert itself as a wild current. And then when you touch a stove or you touch the beam of a structure, you will get a shock, because the building will literally charge itself and will discharge if it's no ground to it. Now I'm going to show you something. I'm going to use my amp clamp as an antenna, and I'm going to turn that to hertz setting, right? So I'm totally into the setting. Now watch that. I'm just going to open as an open antenna, not a closed antenna. Et voila. I'm reading my hertz, 59.9 hertz. Okay, I'm not touching, and I'm about 4 or 5 inches away. About 4 or 5 inches away. It goes back. Yeah. So now this is just radio transferring. So I know this tiny little cheap motor is leaking. It's got about a 6-inch radius of leakage. So let's see if we can find something else there. So far I'm not picking up a residue I can convert with that without putting the other motor aside and check it up. So we'll do the same again. So we have nothing, right? Now we're going to just put the prong into it, and we're going to hook up directly to the motor. That was what? Come on, get in there. See, immediately we're getting 9.3 volt AC coming out from this motor, and as you can pull the motor away slowly, the volt reduce. Now as you can see, look at the gap between the two, and I'm still pulling 4.2 volt AC out of that motor, which this one is not turning. As you can tell, see, it's not turning. You can see the lucette screw there, and this one is turning. Now, if there's no radio frequency between those two, what did I'm reading here? Oh yeah, the physicists will say this is called a phantom current. Well, I hate to tell you, but that current is the same current is coming out from the plug. So it ain't no phantom, but it does. Is a wireless communication wave. So that's all I want to add to. That was a little bit I wanted to show you. And we all know You know, they're wired all here, so I'm not. It's no Houdini here. Again, poor Houdini. I'm using his name all the time. Poor guy. I'm gonna have to start paying her something. But it's straightforward. You bring it closer. Oh, I'll put the so they don't touch, and you get your 9.4 volts. So it's kind of a.
It's evidence, and it's a clear indication that you're onto the right track.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, anybody who can dispute that, you know.
It gives more credence as well to your other
See,
experiments.
you unplug that and look at the volt dropping up.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, so it's just little tests you can do and see things really work differently than what we know. And that's all I'm trying to tell people. Don't look at things the way we've been told how to look at it. Walk around looking at a different angle. You know, sometimes just a different angle you will see something you miss. But no, I missed that just as much as anybody else. It took me almost 2 years, you know, to figure out, oh, that's what I'm lighting up, those fluorescent tube. When they're burned, I can still lighting it up.
Yeah, that makes sense now too.
No, everything makes sense. Like I'm answering, remember when I told, oh, the flow, the blue light. Why the blue light glow blue for 9 hours in a dark room? Oh, it's very simple. Because in the tube, when we're seeing, it's no longer a flow of electron, but a flow of radio wave, where you can actually see the radio wave, the Rubens or wave, and at high frequency, of course I'm cranking up with the spark gap, right? I'm inducing heater. Well, heater is cold radiation, and the glass absorb that because it's this high pressure sodium glass, the little tube inside, and they absorb the radiation, and then it's just like a battery, the radiation will go away slowly. So that's the explanation of the blue light. So thank you very much, and hopefully you enjoyed the video. Look at the amperage, right? I'm only. Now, if I had that in the battery, it would smoke at 30 volt, 38 volt already. But I'm not pushing any amp into it, and that thing is strong as you can be. And it's only taking, you know, no more than half an amp to run, and it's probably turning at 40,000 RPM.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to show you a different motor. It's actually unbelievable. The only thing you can smell is the bushing, they're getting hot.
Yeah, I was going to say, you can smell a little bit.
Yeah, you can smell the bushing. Now, here is a 60 volt motor.
The pancake one?
The pancake motor is a 60 volt and it's 500 watts. Now, I'm not going to push 500 watts on it. 500 watts is 5 amp. But look at that. Look at it turning. 0 volt, a quarter of a volt, and it's turning already. And I'm not going to push any amp into it. At 23 volt, I'm already to the maximum of his RPM on normal operation, and that's a 60 volt motor. Now I'm pushing less the 100 watts. Now, this motor is probably turning roughly around 50,000 RPM, and I'm only 49 volt. Now I'm going to reduce it to 3.5 volt. There we go. Try to stop it.
Oh wait, let me zoom out here. Holy crap. Aye.
You can't stop them at 3.5 volts.
Wow.
If you change the power supply going to those DC motor, this power supply is unbelievable. I like to tell people to buy one, you know, because this power supply here is very not that great of a power supply. It produces too much amp, it's pushing too much amp and not enough volts. And it's brand new, it's $300 some, but this one here is actually the one you want to play with. I mean, how can it be possible? 3.5 volt, ouch, I can't stop it.
Yeah, that's real difficult. The friction when you get down
It's
there is incredible.
unbelievable. How can you have something at 3 point, make any power in that size, okay? So we'll stop that one. Now we'll go with a really cheap motor. Of course, they're all made in China, but that one is a 24 volt, 300 watt output, or 300 watt input. Let's see now, what would we do with this one? Okay, now again, you will see, right, is reading. Now, I'm gonna keep it at 0.75 of a volt if I can get it. It's pretty touchy because I don't have a fine tuning on that one.
There you go.
See, that's 0.5, and I can stall it, but I have to really hold on to it, right? Now I'm going to bring it up to 1.5 volt.
No chance.
Now you can't stop it. They'll rip the skin out of my hand, or the motor will spin. Now, how can I have so much power with so little volts? That's a question for all the smart people out there. You know? This is a 24 volt motor, DC motor. By putting 1.5 volt DC into it, and I'm getting that much power.
And you're not saying it's unexplained?
Well, normally you should be able to put your finger and install the motor. But for some reason, some of the compartments make a different DC volt. This DC volt, it's totally different than this one. This one, I won't, the amp, this one, the amp crank right up. And that's another thing I want to show you. Look, the amp should be cranking up double the voltage because I'm putting a lot of resistance into it. My fingers are hurting. And that's normal. But at high speed you can't crank the amp because you can't slow it down. It just doesn't really, and then again, now you want to, that's a 4-brush system, that motor. Now at 24 volts, which would be is normal speed, at full speed. Now, this motor right now is probably producing roughly around about 15 horse on the shaft. And it's only running at 1.5 amp. It's all on the delivery of the energy into the unit. This one here, I still have to do some tests on it to see what, I have to have an oscilloscope, a very good oscilloscope, to really do some tests on that one to see what's coming out of that one, because this machine makes the motor run so smooth compared to all the other ones. It's got a maximum of 61 volt out of it. And your motor doesn't heat up.
Not heating up?
Nothing at all. Runs smooth. And if I plug a 24 volt battery to it and let it run for more than a few minutes, the motor will get hot. Same thing with this one.
Say that last part again?
If I put 24 volt battery into that motor, which is a 24 volt motor, and let it run for 5 minutes, the motor will get really hot. Same thing with the other one, the motor will get really hot. But But this machine here, it doesn't. And I'm getting tons of power out of the shaft. So that's probably one of the best $500 I spent. That's how much we paid for that, $500?
It was 400, essentially 350, but after tax.
Yeah. So I mean, like, you know. And to be able to start a motor in less than a volt, come on. Look at that, 4.9, half a volt, and this motor is running. It's moving. This has got brush inside.
What's it take to run an LED?
You know, I could not run an LED unless I had an oscillation in that one. I don't know what the oscillation is in that one, and that's one thing I got to find out. But like, wow, you know. But this brand here is definitely worth the money compared to this little guy here, and it's all over the place. The current goes all over the place. You can take a good shot of the brand, so they know if they want to find one of those, get a good shot. You have enough light there. There you go.
Yeah.
One not to buy. And I'm going to be purchasing another one of those, which is 120 volt output, and I'm going to ask the company if they can make a 600 volt output one, because that's what we want. It's voltage. I'm tired of listening to amperage is the horse. Never mind that. We're not running a horse through the wire. We're running frequency. So exactly. I want some volts.
You want some volts.
I want some volts. So I mean, like, you know, anything, same thing. Every motor I want to run, including a car, boat, whatever, they're all going to run at 600 volts. It's the most economical way to run, the most efficiency, the coolness of your motor. Your stator doesn't heat up. They don't heat up. The insulation doesn't get hole, don't crack, and you have no failure. So it makes everything runs cooler, longer, and less wear and tear and repair. So I mean, it might not be the best concept of the world, but it sure beats, you know, paying from the pole.
Essentially, that's the whole purpose.
Exactly. And then it sure beats pulling out the tank every 360 kilometers, 300-400 kilometers.
Yeah, wouldn't it be nice to just keep going?
Yeah, till the wheels falls off, you know. I mean, like, you know,
we're getting
talking
closer
about
to that.
enjoying traveling. And now you can literally enjoy traveling. You don't have to budget $3,000 worth of gas, so I can go, you know, camping.
Yeah.
You know, and be able to enjoy the luxury you just paid for, like, you know, your microwave, your stove, and this and that, your light, your air conditioning. You know, those are the stuff you're paying for, but you don't barely can use it because the cost of using it overcome, you know, your budget of vacation. So I mean, we have to really understand we can't afford to live anymore. That's the bottom line. Everybody it's broke, in debt, credit card, you know. I mean, there's not one person who doesn't have $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 in credit card debt. That's not including their mortgage.
Yeah, that's the majority of people.
You know, so I mean, like, you know, we definitely have a problem when you come to, you know, do the math, you know, and how much the stuff costs. I mean, most of the stuff we're buying costs peanuts to manufacture. But again, the greed jump in it. The middleman, the warehousing will make 10 to 15 times more profit than the manufacturer. And then the stuff from China, where it's worth nothing, but the broker is buying the garbage from China and bring it here and selling us for high quality product. You know, again, it's all about those little things. When if people said, I'm not buying that, it's like the other day I wanted to buy some meat in the store, a tiny little sirloin steak this big, and this steak $27. Like, what people just I turn around and say, you know what, I'm going vegetarian today. I mean, I ain't paying no $27 for like a 6-ounce steak. I mean, that's $1 million cow, for God's sake. Why did they kill it? Right?
Yeah, why did
they kill the $1 million cow, for God's sakes, right?
Let's go hunting for cows instead.
So I mean, like, you know, the greed is too big, okay? The bullshit is out there. It doesn't cost that much. That meat could sell that little piece of meat for $2, and he would still make a shitload of profit on it. Unless profit is only calculated by the thousands of percent now, not the 1 or 2 or 3% or 10% profit. It's a thousands of percent now for profit. I mean, perfect example. You go to Costco, you buy yourself a case of water, 30 bottles, $1.69. You take it to your store and you sell it for $2 a bottle. How much profit is that? You take a calculator to calculate that profit because the numbers are very long. It's not 1%, 2%, it's thousands of percent. Okay, first thing we're gonna connect the motor, right? Are you on?
I'm on, yep.
Okay. Here's another little test we're doing. Okay, just to show people, you know, those outrunner, they're actually a radio frequency motor. Now you heard the little beep, and what I'm gonna make again. The motor make the little beep, so I want you guys to really listen to the motor. Right? All I'm going to do now is put the power into it. Now see, you hear the motor? Alright. Now we'll disconnect that. Now we're going to plug, where I plug the motor to turn it, to speaker for my surrounded sound. Now this guy is crazy, right? He's seeing,
all experiments.
He's seeing things and he's on bad drug, right? Now I want you to listen to those speakers very carefully. On both sides of the speaker, this is a perfect tune. So if it does not radio frequency we're sending to the speaker on a wave sign, I don't know what it is. You know, it's this. If you distortion, static, do not play musical note at perfect. You know, at it's just crazy. You know, here's another experiment, and if you people don't believe me, we'll do it again. Listen to the noise. Right? Now I'm going to disconnect it, the speaker, and I'm going to connect it back to the motor, and I will make the motor sing again, and I will make it run, so we know we're not playing game with people. Holy crap, I broke my thing. Them Chinese slam. Okay, so we're going to reply that. You will please sound. Alright.
Much quieter.
Now I'm going to make a turn. Now I'm turning a motor when I'm making the speaker play music. Now think about it for a little while.
Just think about it for a little while.
It's very simple. Those goddamn motor, they runs on radio frequency. Now, is anybody over there prove me wrong? I'd like to see that. There it is. Outrunner for plane. Runs perfectly with frequency. Radio frequency. There we go. So hopefully that will be seen, talk about in the video. Alright. So now we just came back from the stove and more a little bit of explanation of what, you know, what we're fighting for. And what I'm fighting for actually is to more likely show people how big the lie is when it comes to large corporation and government. I mean, it doesn't stop. I mean, you ever heard the government say, "Trust me"? Right? And what happened after they say that? They fuck you up. It's that simple. Every time the government said, "Trust me," that's the last time I'm going to trust that person. I'll be running away as far as I can and as fast as I can, because this guy is preparing to do something to me. Trust me. Right? That's why I don't want anybody even to trust me. I don't even trust myself, because I repeat all my experience dozens of times. Even when I feel bored, I have nothing to do, I will repeat an old experiment just to see, to confirm it's going to give me the same results. And that's the only way I can come out with a firm and logical decision on what what my test was. And to be able to say, okay, if you can do this that way, it will give you this as a result. And a lot of people out there, they do some tests, but they go into their own little world and modify what I've been doing, and they don't have the same results. Well, of course, you didn't do the same test. It's that simple. You can't make an apple pie with peaches. It's that simple, right?
It's very specific, which
It's
is why
very
you're doing
specific.
research.
It's like a recipe. You can't change the recipe. Everything is a balance of the elements. If you change that balance, then you get something else. That's the output of it. But to go back into what I've been doing, well, I removed the doubt now. If anybody out there who want to put a lab together, it's an RF frequency lab research center they want to open. Nothing else right now, because this is what controls the world. It gives you life, it takes your life. It gives you comfort, it takes your comfort away. But that's what controls the world. It doesn't. You don't need anything else to research. So if you want to research energy, research RF frequency, and you will find all the energy and hide it into it. And when you find the recipe, you can't miss it. It's just like making eggs and bacon in the morning. After you made it 1,000 times, you can do it blind, right? So this is what I'm trying to tell people. Now, the equipment, if you're going to go out and buy equipment to buy an RF, well, be prepared. They're expensive. For the common reason is they're RF resistant, so they can actually give you a reading. And a lot of people, they have different word, RMS resistant or RMS proof, right? That's mean they are radio frequency resistant. It doesn't matter. It's have to be resistant. That's when my voltmeter has been lasting so long with what I do and cranking up and going all over the place. It's a miracle that things still work. But if you have good equipment, they last a long time. If you go and buy yourself an oscilloscope, it's not RF resistant. If you pay $1,200, you just flush $1,200 in the toilet because it ain't good for you at all. It will give you a wrong reading. So just a little heads up there for all the people who just want to go and start start working with RF. Now, since we know it's RF frequency generator, we have not electrical we're not producing electricity. It's a frequency. It's a radio frequency, not electricity.
There's a lot of people out there though that really understand a lot about what was written about Tesla, what he wrote, and all that stuff. But you would be telling them, take what you're saying there and apply it to what was said, and things will open up the doors like they've opened up for you.
Absolutely. You can actually, if you put RF in your head and read all the Tesla document you have, right, and keep in mind, remove the word electricity. Suddenly everything he says makes sense, because he's not talking. He always says oscillated. You have to have oscillation. Well, it's an old word for frequency, right? We have to understand this guy was talking 100 some years ago. Today, the same word that we're using over there, doesn't have the same meaning, because our stupid society removed the true meaning of the word and changed it so we can't find nothing with that word. It's just a dumb word the politician use, because a politician can speak 24/7 and never say one thing, but their mouth and their jaw and their tongue will be flopping for 24/7, and they will be talking. In the end of that, they will not say a damn thing, because they're talking in circle, no meaning what they're talking, because the word they're using have actually no motion. But now I'm just trying to correct a few things since the beginning. The motors, it makes the stator who start playing music for no reason. The transfer of voltage between two motors, when one runs, when the other one is not running, the other one actually produces electricity. And the herd carries through it. All those little tests tells you, it opens your mind to, hey, maybe we should look at something different instead of staying with AC currents. I'm just a little guy here who just try to to go through all the lie, and believe me, it's a painful research, because you are pushing that rock uphill constantly, because the truth is so deep, it's hidden so deep, it's almost scary at that point in time. And now the truth, the cat is out of the bag, I don't know what's gonna happen next. So I mean, actually, by doing this video, and hopefully people who, and I know I have a few good people in my group who totally understand what I'm doing, and they're doing tests, and I totally understand the result of those tests. If it's something happen, then I'm pretty sure it will be somebody out there who knows about RF, and then will be able to connect the dot and make the picture. Because right now that's all he's got to do, is connect the dot. I give him all the dots. All you got to do is start by 1 point to 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and you will have something working. I mean, it's very simple. The system can be built many ways. I will show you down the road, how to build antenna, what's the result of the antenna, and all that. As the lab, we've pretty much finished in the lab right now, and I'm trying to get something working in my place also. I got to move out of here, moving in a bigger place, so I can actually have my own little lab going and doing my tests instead of doing that in my living room. So, but that's as far as I am right now. Is it's electricity. It's not what we think it is. So, just on that note, just think about that for a few minutes before you go to bed tonight. You gotta have a good night.